Get that other one out. Come on.
The story begins with a man named Harlan DeGroat watching a movie in his car at a park. His girlfriend sits beside him and keeps making fun of him. Annoyed by her teasing, Harlan loses his temper and slams her face against the dashboard. The loud noise catches the attention of another man nearby who is also watching the movie. After that, a man tried to protect Harlan's girlfriend, but Harlan viciously attacked and beat her. Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, Russell Bays was working at a steel mill. On his way home, he saw his brother Rodney Bays Jr.'s car parked near a racetrack. Russell stopped, got out, and went to look for him. At that moment, Rodney had just lost money betting on a horse race. When Russell saw this, he wondered how his brother got the money to gamble. Rodney admitted that he had borrowed it from John Petty, a loan shark who ran a bar and was involved in illegal business. Russell was upset that his brother had gone into debt just to gamble, but he couldn't bring himself to criticize the brother he deeply cared about. The next day, Russell visited his bedridden father, who was being cared for at home by his uncle, Red Bays. While there, he also saw his brother Rodney, a soldier getting ready to be deployed to Iraq. After spending some time with his father, Russell went to meet John, the loan shark who had lent Rodney the money. As Russell was about to walk into John's office, he saw John speaking harshly to a visitor. The visitor turned out to be Harlan. Russell entered without being invited, which made Harlan angry when Russell confronted him. Afterward, Russell handed John his monthly paycheck to cover part of his brother's debt and promised to pay the rest with his next paycheck. Russell asked John not to tell Rodney about what he had done. After that, he stayed at John's bar and had a few drinks before heading home. That night, he drove drunk. The streets were empty until a car suddenly came down a hill and stopped in the middle of the road. Russell couldn't stop in time and crashed straight into it. Sadly, the car Russell hit had a mother and her young child inside. When he got out to check, he was heartbroken to see that both of them had died in the crash he caused. Because of this tragedy, Russell was sentenced to 8 years in prison. While Russell was in prison, his brother Rodney often came to visit him, but his girlfriend, Lena Taylor, never did. During one visit, Rodney told Russell that he was about to be sent to Iraq and might be away for a long time. Years later, after finishing his military service, Rodney finally came home. When he visited Russell, he shared the sad news that their father, who had been sick for years, had passed away. Russell was devastated when he heard it. Now Rodney was the only family Russell had left. When Russell was finally released from prison, Rodney came to pick him up. The first place Russell visited was his parents' grave. After that, he went to see Lena. That's when he realized why she had never visited him in prison. She had a new boyfriend, a police chief named Wesley Barnes. Russell could only watch Lena and her new boyfriend from a distance. The story then shifts to the lives of the two brothers after all the hardships Russell had been through. Sometime later, Russell returned to his old job at the steel mill in Pennsylvania, while Rodney got involved in an illegal fighting ring. During one match, Rodney seemed to have trouble keeping up with his opponent. Rodney was knocked down several times and took some hard hits. But everything changed when his opponent insulted his mother. Fueled by anger, Rodney regained his strength and managed to win the fight. It was then revealed that he had joined the illegal match to pay off his debt to John. John believed Rodney wasn't fit to be a fighter because he couldn't control his emotions. He advised Rodney to be more like his brother and get a job at the steel mill instead. But with his face bruised and his head still aching, Rodney decided to ignore John's advice. Meanwhile, Russell was waiting at home for Rodney and was shocked when he saw his brother's condition. However, he decided not to ask any questions. Rodney went straight to his room and didn't want to talk. The next morning, while cleaning up after breakfast, Russell found a used bandage in the trash. He immediately confronted Rodney and told him to stop fighting. Russell told his brother to work at the steel mill. The pay wasn't as good as being a soldier, but it was enough to get by. However, this advice made Rodney angry. He said he no longer cared about living. Pointing to the scars from his time in Iraq, he explained that serving his country had only left him broken and depressed after seeing so many people die in the war. To make things worse, since coming home, he no longer felt the peace of a normal life. That afternoon, Rodney went to John's bar and begged him to let him join another fight to pay off his debt. At first, John refused because the fights were dangerous and the organizers were known for cheating. But after Rodney kept pushing, John finally gave in and agreed. After that, John called Harlan to arrange for Rodney to take part in the next illegal fight. Meanwhile, Russell met with Lena and asked her to give their relationship another chance. But Lena refused, especially because she was now pregnant with Wesley's child. They hugged and cried, and Russell tried to accept that it was time to let her go. After meeting Lena, Russell went to the site of the old accident where he had crashed into another car. He placed a wreath there to honor the victims. The next day, he met his Uncle Red, who used to take him hunting in the woods. Even though he was tired, Russell agreed to go with him. Meanwhile, Rodney and John went to meet Harlan. Harlan looked down on Rodney's fighting skills, saying he didn't have the right build or looked to be a real fighter. When Rodney heard Harlan's insults, he got angry and challenged him, wanting to prove he was strong enough to fight. Luckily, John stepped in and stopped the argument. Later, John took Rodney aside and told him to lose the next fight because that was the deal he had made with Harlan. Rodney stayed silent, still furious at Harlan, and hadn't decided whether to do what John said. A short time later, Rodney's fight began. Fueled by anger, he fought fiercely and quickly overpowered his opponent. Seeing this, John reminded him to stick to the deal and lose the fight. Rodney finally gave in and stopped fighting back. But his opponent kept hitting him so hard that John had to rush into the ring to stop the beating. After the fight, Harlan met with John and said his job was done because he had won the bet on Rodney's match. They then started driving home. John felt relieved, thinking he was finally done dealing with Harlan. But he was wrong. On the way, Harlan and his men blocked the road and stopped John's car at the end of a bridge. Harlan then walked up to the vehicle. When John saw Harlan, his phone accidentally slipped under the car seat and ended up calling the bartender's voicemail. Harlan leaned through the car window, got close to John's face, and told him it wasn't over, then shot him dead. After that, he ordered his men to take Rodney to a warehouse. That night, after coming home from a hunting trip, Russell went into Rodney's room. Russell found a letter from Rodney. In it, Rodney apologized for not listening to his advice to stay away from fighting. He promised this would be his last match, and that after it, he would get a job at the steel mill. Meanwhile, Rodney was being tortured by Harlan's men. When Harlan entered the warehouse, he forced Rodney to look him in the eyes. Rodney insulted Harlan, calling him a coward. Furious, Harlan pulled out his gun and shot him dead. He then ordered his men to bury Rodney's body in the forest. The next day, Wesley showed up at Russell's house. At first, Russell thought he was there because of his past relationship with Lena. Russell was wrong. Wesley had come only to tell him that John had been found dead in the forest. Later, at the police station, Russell listened to a voice recording of John's final moments, which had been accidentally captured on the bartender's voicemail. However, the police still couldn't find Rodney, who had been with John when he died. Even though the police questioned people who had attended the fight, no one was willing to say anything. This made Russell extremely frustrated. He even accused Wesley and the police of not doing enough to find Rodney. Later, Russell and his uncle went to John's office to look for Harlan's address. The bartender said he didn't know where Harlan lived, but he did know the location of the fight. During the investigation, Russell found out that John owed Harlan a large amount of money and had planned to repay it through a fight deal. Russell and his uncle quickly went to the site of the fight, but the place was deserted. That night, Russell went to a parking lot and pretended to buy drugs from Harlan's men. At first, they refused, thinking he might be an undercover cop. But eventually, they took him to Harlan's hideout. The police escorted Russell and his uncle out of the area, warning them that they would be arrested if they didn't leave. With no other choice, they followed the order and went home. A few days later, Wesley waited for Russell outside the factory after work. He told Russell that the police had found Rodney's body buried in the forest. Hearing this, Russell tried to stay calm and hold himself together. That evening, Wesley and Lena went to Russell's house to offer their condolences. Lena begged him not to investigate Rodney's death by himself and to let the police handle it. Months passed as Russell tried to return to a normal life. Even though the police raided Harlan's house, they still couldn't find him. After months of waiting with no progress, Russell decided to handle things himself. He broke into John's office to search for information about Harlan. There, he found Harlan's phone number and called him right away. Russell arranged to meet Harlan at a bar near John's office, saying he wanted to pay off the rest of John's debt. That night, Harlan showed up with one of his men, carrying a large bag. They entered the bar through the back alley. Russell, who had been waiting, quietly moved to the front entrance with a gun in hand. Inside, Harlan threatened the bartender and demanded to know who had called him. When the bartender said he didn't know, Harlan shot him dead. Russell managed to lock Harlan's men in another room and got ready to shoot Harlan. But Harlan fired back, forcing Russell to hide behind cover. When Harlan tried to escape in his car, it wouldn't start because Russell had sabotaged it. With no other choice, Harlan left the car and ran into an abandoned factory. Russell chased after him, and the two got into a fierce gunfight. Russell shot Harlan in the leg, but Harlan managed to stay standing. Russell then forced Harlan to walk into the woods. From a distance, Wesley appeared and told him to stop, but Russell ignored him. When Harlan tried to run away, Russell shot him from behind. In the final scene, Russell sits alone in his house. After killing Harlan, Russell wasn't sent to prison because Wesley defended him and helped arrange his release. The film shows that gambling never brings real wealth. Instead, it leads to tragedy and even death. The debts Rodney took on for pleasure only pushed him deeper into despair, and gambling never helped him pay them off. Sometimes, even a low-paying job is better because it keeps us safe and out of trouble, even if it doesn't make us rich.